Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 425 of the Stacey West podcast. I am your host, Ben, and the OG Pod Squad are back. I'm joined by Gary. How you doing, mate? You well?
The OG Pod Squad. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Mate. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, have you been? You've been away. You've got some tales to tell us from Marrakesh.
Yeah, only a 4-night stay, so 3 full days. Just a little bit of winter sun rather, or summer in the winter, to put some gap between a pretty horrendous autumn and Christmas. I mean, it was nice. Yeah, the temperature was quite nice. A couple of days by the pool, which is not really me. But I got through Rob Bradley's book, and I got through Richard Osman's latest book, and then I found another author whose name escaped me. So I got through 3 books in 3 days. Little mooch around Marrakesh, bumped into some Lincoln people, which was great. And I'm doing a shirt exchange with the waiter, who it was great because we were watching Morocco under 17s at night. We weren't sat watching, it was on in the background. I wasn't subjecting Fee to Morocco under 17s. And then Uganda, and he kind of came through and was having a bit of a chat about football. And I was asking him about his local team, and he told me, there's a team in Marrakesh, you haven't heard of them. So I looked him up on the phone, because you do, don't you? Every time I like to collect other teams. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like Siena and Bari in Italy. I like to collect other teams. Victoria Cologne as well. So I thought, I'll have Marrakesh now. That'll be one to keep an eye out on. So I was like, is this the shirt? And he got right into it. And he's like, yeah, I'll bring you one. And I'm thinking, nah, it's bullshit. Next night, he turns up with a Marrakesh shirt still in the packaging. Like, I've been to the club shop and bought you this.
Oh wow.
So I said, I'll send you Lincoln. And he's like, Lincoln, who are they? I said, you probably won't have heard of them, but they played Chelsea in the cup. And he went, 2-1. He was going 1-0 at half time. I was like, yeah, man, how do you know? It's like, there's some Chelsea fans in the bar, and they had it on. He goes, and I was rooting for Lincoln. I was like, that's my team. So now I've committed to sending a Lincoln shirt to Morocco, which I'm sure is going to cost me more than a Marrakesh shirt would have done if I bought it.
Yeah, well, just mark it as a gift. It'll go through customs fine. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We've been.
How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm all good.
Not a lot of you, is there? It's been a while since we've done the podcast, and you take up less of the screen than you used to.
It's very kind of you to say. No, I'm nearly down 3 stone since the end of June, which is I'm a happy boy in that respect. So, although I did. Work. Thank you, mate. No, we did. I did break a little bit today because we're renovating at the minute. So because we don't have a kitchen, we got like halfway through doing the decorating this afternoon, realised that we hadn't eaten and thought, crap, we need to get some food. So we just ordered a McDonald's, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's all right for the little odd treat, but yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh, when it arrived.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I was to say, when it arrived, right, we got it, and then sometimes they put the order number on top of the thing, and so it arrived, and it's just like it got there, and it's like order 66, and I thought, brilliant. Not only have I just ordered my food, but I've also killed all the Jedi. Brilliant.
I don't get that reference.
No, I didn't think you would, and I was thinking, I know you've watched the Star Wars films fairly recently. I was like, is he going to get it? No, you're not.
Is that old Star Wars or new Star Wars?
The prequel trilogy. So
that means nothing to me. Are we talking Ewan McGregor and
yes.
What's her name that was in Leon? Natalie Portman.
Yeah, that's the one.
I haven't seen any of those at all.
Fair enough. So you're going to say something, sorry?
No, I was just going to talk about McDonald's, but we don't really need to do that, do we? Because we're a Lincoln City podcast with a pile of stuff to get through that would make even Chris Lamming a little apprehensive, I think.
Absolutely. So and fair play. The wife has just commented that she's finished painting the kitchen ceiling just in time for the podcast. Perfect.
Brilliant. Does she want to come around and do my skirting? Not a euphemism.
Probably not. Obviously, we are here to talk about the Imps. And yesterday was a game that I think me and you were the only ones in our predictions to suggest that we would probably come away with nothing from the game yesterday. It was a windy afternoon in Wycombe. And I think my mind almost got changed in that first sort of 10 minutes or so, because I was like, we've started pretty brightly here. You know, we had a couple of early corners, couple of chances. You think, oh yeah, we might be able to do something. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely. It probably wasn't the full on onslaught that we would have seen at the beginning of the season when we took the game to teams. But I think we definitely started brighter, didn't we, Gary?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, Eric Ring dropped out the side. We know, which we'll talk about in a bit, Oscar Thorne being injured. But he basically kept faith with the team that played Doncaster, bar I think Ben House came in, obviously returning from his injury, which to me suggested that it wasn't horses for courses. It was, well, that worked for us last week against so-called lowly Doncaster. Wycombe are on a run. We're still going to go and try and do what we do. And we started brightly, but like you say, it wasn't all pouring forward. It wasn't kind of domination. But for 10 minutes, I was watching thinking, you know what, we can get something from this. I wasn't critical of the referee in the first half, but after 9 minutes, there was a moment that I felt could have gone either way. And as it was, that was then a precursor. And I'm not here just to complain about refs. I get a lot of stick recently for that. I've always been a defender of refs. Anyone wants to go back over the other 400 episodes before this season starts. And, you know, I try not to call refs out. But I thought we had another crap referee. Luke Lee could have been sent off. I'd stopped short at saying should, but could have been sent off. And from really, I think that was almost a moment that kind of changed things a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not a moment that you'll see on the highlights. So if you do get a chance to have a look at the full match replay, definitely go and check that out. If you want to get a little bit frustrated, I guess. But it was a bit of a wild challenge from Leahy. He goes in, his studs are up. It's late. He does make contact with Ben House. And for a while, it looked like House was probably going to be down for a little bit. And I don't know if that was Ben House doing what Ben House does, but it did look a little bit suspect to me. But yeah, I agree. I think you can see those challenges being red card offences. I think if that's not in the 9th minute of the game, the outcome might possibly be a little bit different. But yeah, you know, Leahy gets booked from that. Maybe fortunate to just get a yellow card. But it was one of a few moments, and I know you mentioned it in your write-up, it was a few moments in the game where you think we've come out on possibly the wrong side of those instances in this game. And, you know, I think we spoke, was it about the Doncaster game, where we said, you know, luck was probably on our side a little bit in the Doncaster game. But, you know, to have that go against us yesterday, it certainly didn't set the tone, did it?
No, Lee's not been sent off while he was at Wycombe. He was sent off for when he played for Shrewsbury against Cheltenham, but his last sending off before that, if I recall correctly, was for Bristol Rovers, and it was against us.
Right.
I seem to recall. So yeah, I just thought he was deserving of a yellow card. Referees make mistakes. I get it, but yeah. The thing is, VAR probably sends him off. I've had discussions with people and they say he doesn't. There's been a couple of instances recently. Rotherham as well was another game where I just felt refereeing was poor. And look, I'm not just coming out on defeats and saying that's not right and that's not right. When we beat Plymouth, it wasn't right that Wadu was sent off either. I don't think. I just think the standard of refereeing has been really poor. And the thing is, when we lost to Rotherham, you know, it wasn't a case of looking at and we'll come on to more refereeing points, I know, but it wasn't a case of looking at that and going, look, we've lost the game and we've lost it because of the ref. We lost Rotherham and the ref just made errors. But yesterday's decisions, not that one particularly, directly affected the game, but it didn't directly affect how passive and to a degree negative I think we were for the rest of the first half.
Yeah, because I mean, shortly afterwards, you know, the first goal went in. 5 minutes later, you know, let's be fair, Rob Street switches off when the ball's played out wide. He switches off. He doesn't see that there's a man out on the wing. I think it was Harvey out on the wing. Doesn't see him. Thinks it's going out for a throw in, suddenly realizes, tries to catch up and doesn't and Harvey's then able to get the cross in. The cross beats Tendai, and there was Sam Bell to turn it in. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the finish because it's a decent finish, but it does go through George Wickens' legs. It was a frustrating move where we've just switched off, and they've allowed to run straight through us. It looked to me as well like Tendai was maybe in two minds when the run started from Harvey, because I think he's looking at Rob Street going, "Oh, he's got this," and "Oh no, he hasn't got this," and he kind of he almost checks his run for want of a better phrase, where he looks to go out and he goes, "Oh no, I need to be back in the box." Comes back in and the ball beats him by millimeters. It was a frustrating one to concede.
Let's call it what it was. It was a shit goal to concede. It's not good on so many levels. Let's be honest. I know that we occasionally try and err on the side of the player, because I do try and say what I see. It's a bad goal to concede. It's a soft one. I think it was the one that Michael Scabala said we concede a soft second. He thought the first wasn't too bad, but Street has switched off as the ball's gone out wide. It did look like it was going to go out, granted, but you've got to chase it. Again, I'm not sure whether Ten's in two minds or not. I don't think he's ever going to go to Harvey, because if he goes to Harvey, he leaves the runner anyway. But he doesn't block the cross as well. So, I'm not looking at these players and going, you're at fault, but it's a catalogue of Street not making the run, Ten not blocking the cross, and then George, through his legs. It's just, and it was kind of against the run of play, but I think that then affected even more. I think we almost regressed into our shell a little bit, and the first half wasn't tough watching. We created opportunities, but we just didn't create anything really clear cut, and they always looked a little more organised and probably one step ahead of us.
Yeah, they did, and that was, I think, the thing which probably wound me up the most about that. Like I said, I thought we started really well, and then it was just that sucker punch of a goal, because it was against the run of play. I'm not saying they didn't deserve it, but it was definitely against the run of play at that point. And we started to struggle. Wycombe got a hold in the game. We didn't really have too many more chances until pretty much the stroke of, well, there weren't that many chances in the rest of the first half until pretty much the stroke of half time, when Sam Bell gets his second. It comes in from, oh, go on.
No, carry on.
Oh, sorry, no. It comes in from a diagonal ball from Sonny Bradley out to Rob Street. Street doesn't win the header, and then 7 touches later, it's 2-0. Wycombe broke really quickly with that, and I think you look back at it. There was an instant that you mentioned in your write-up, and I think the other one was the two players that you kind of look at. Conor McGrandles, does he buy or does he just take a yellow card at that point? Because you can see that that they're breaking. Yes, it means that we miss he'd miss next week's game, but we've got the depth to cover that. And then I think the other thing, my initial reaction was Tom Hamer should be coming out for that, and he didn't. And it just seemed like, I mean, Michael described it as sloppy in his post match, and it was. George Wickens comes way out to try and get to it. I don't think he's got any chance of getting that at all from the time that he's come out, and then Bell just dinks it over him, and that's it. 2-0 going into half time.
Yeah, there's a couple of points there. First of all, up until the watch, I mean, I've literally just had the replay on in front of me while you were talking, because I'm going to do something to keep myself interested. I hadn't actually spotted that, Tom Hamer not coming out. I looked at the pass splitting Bradley and Reach. I don't think there's any blame on Wickens for this one, because I don't think it runs far enough ahead for him to come out and collect it. Arguably, you might look at Bayliss really earlier in the move, doesn't kind of get in on the guy that plays the ball through. I think it's Mullins, might be wrong. Street loses a header, which we've led with. But to be fair, like, players lose headers in the final third all the time. I don't have a significant problem with that. It's he's there to almost lose the ball. If any players are going to lose the ball, you want it to be your forward players. But again, it's a bad goal to concede. And it wasn't, when I say against the run of play, I don't, 2-0 wasn't entirely fair on the balance of chances. Like, we'd had 4 shots, 1 on target. At that point, they'd had 4 shots, 2 on target. We'd had a bit more possession. It had been a nothing game, but it was engrossing. I always felt like they might score, but they didn't create anything. I always felt like we might do something. And the number of times that we surged forward, I thought, here we go. And then we turned around and we got to the 18-yard area, or we got to 25 yards from goal and started going backwards. That have a problem with us going backwards if it's backwards with purpose. But the one thing that really gets me as a Lincoln fan, and I'm sure all clubs do it, don't get me wrong, is you look like you've got a break, right? You've got a player going down the wing. It's 2-on-2. You think, here we go. And 5 seconds later, the ball is back at George Wycombe's feet and everyone's reset. If you give Wycombe an opportunity to reset, they're going to do it, and they're going to do it really well. And that's exactly what they did. They were really well organised. They weren't any better than us. They've got good players, by the way. Corley Woodrow, been a great player at championship level for a long, long time. Sam Bell, really good player. The boy Mullins in the midfield. They've got good players, but they weren't any better than us. They just did the things that they did better than we did. Does that make sense? Yeah. It kind of sounds odd. Like when they needed to break, they did. When we needed to break, we reset and tried to do what we wanted to do. And if I'm Michael Scabala, I'm angry at that, because we've got Adam Reach who can get down the sides. But the truth is, in the first 45 minutes, James Collins, Frankie Okawankwo and Rob Street were passengers. There was Ben House pretty much doing it as much as he could on his own up top. He wasn't getting an awful lot of support from the midfield because they were predominantly occupied. I don't think they played badly. But we just didn't offer a threat when we got into the area. And that was the problem pre-Doncaster and Barnsley, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I think you mentioned about James Collins there. I think it's probably a point to pick up on. There was a moment in the first half where he had a shot that I think was just on the edge of the 18-yard box, and he had, I think, 2 Wycombe players around him, and he also had support. So he had, I think Frankie Okawankwo was off to his left, and I think it might have either been Ben House or Rob Street, I can't remember off the top of my head, that were ahead of him on his right. And in that position, he took 1 extra touch and had a shot. Last week, he was 8 yards from goal and he squared it. And I just think the decision making there, I don't know what it is, but the decision making just doesn't seem to be quite right at the minute. Last week, 8 yards from goal, you have a shot, and Collins would bury that every day of the week. And then yesterday, there were players between him and the goal. He lays the ball off, and we're in with a really, really good opportunity, and he has a shot. I don't get it.
Well, it's Okawankwo to his right, and it's Ben House to his left. Now, before we go on to that, what a nice move that was, because actually a lot of people are talking about how we just didn't gel. But if you watch that move, it's a 1-2 Bayliss, absolutely cracking play between him and Hamer. Hamer gets the ball in, like you say. Collins brings it down. His penalty spot, back to the goal, penalty spot. But he's got Ben House level with the post, literally just a layoff. He just has to lay it off with his left foot, and House is in 1-on-1. It was such a bad decision, but again, it's easy to criticize when we're sat here going, you could have done this, you could have done that. But it is, that on its own, you watch that chance on its own and you think, if he'd laid that off, that's 1-1 and things are very different. So, but I just, wanted Collins to be the saviour. He scored his goal against Barnsley. We thought, here we go, this is it. But, he wasn't great against Doncaster. He wasn't great yesterday. I remember on the bus to Rotherham, I was chatting to my friend Roy, and he was saying, if you want a centre forward to score goals, you've got to give them time, and you have got to give them time. And we're going to come on in a minute. It's the second half where we were much, much better. But for me, if you're going to, James Collins is going to go many more games in the league without a goal, then you have to think about putting Rob Street in, and not just for 1 game or 2 games, but for 4 or 5 games. Because Street out wide on the right, for me, doesn't work. The way that we play, I think we need more width. I know Oscar Thorne's under the knife. I know Eric Ring wasn't even in yesterday. But we need more width. We need more drive. You've got to have Ben House somewhere in that 3 for the hard work. because I thought he was excellent. He was that close, and for those who are listening, I'm holding probably the size of the width of a thumb from getting my man of the match, Ben House, because I just thought he worked tirelessly and excellently. But you've got to have more penetration from those other two positions, whether that's a Jack Moylan and a Rico Hackett, or a Jack Moylan and an Eric Ring, or whether Adam Reach pushes further forward and Riley Towler plays left back. We've just got to have a little bit of something more, and that's gone kind of from James Collins' decision making to having something a little bit more. The stupid thing is, if James Collins makes the right decision in hindsight and lays it off to Ben House, it's 1-1, the game changes again. And so actually there's a real positive here that's how close the game was. We were 2-0 down at half time. We've just talked about how stupid the second goal was, how weak the first goal was. We were 2-0 down at half time against a team with more resources. I'm not pleading poverty. They're bigger spenders than us, but we were just as good as them, but without the killer instinct. And it was basically Rotherham all over again.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like that. But so yeah, we made it to half time, and then I think there was plenty of discussion around, will we see halftime changes? And we did. Jack Moylan came on, Rico Hackett came on, Street goes off, Okoronkwo went off, and if you absolutely wanted to get a description or a dictionary definition of a game of two halves, you can look at the game yesterday, because, well, all three of us that saw the game yesterday and did our man of the matches, we gave it to a man that came on at half time. In Jack Moylan. I just think, in fairness, I think Frankie Okoronkwo had been largely anonymous for me in that first half. He'd obviously come off the back of a really good game last week, but it was a bit of a disappointment to see just how much he didn't feature really yesterday. So that made sense. And then Rob Street, again, it was a fair substitution. I just think, coming back in and watching Jack Moylan come on, you think, right, here we go. What can we do? It turns out quite a bit.
Yeah. All I say, first of all, the player that lost the ball most in the first half was Rob Street. 14 times he lost the ball. The next highest player was Tom Hamer on 8. So it wasn't a good afternoon for Rob. I'm not just going to be, down on him. And then in the second half, Jack Moylan came on, lost the ball 6 times. So, look, Jack came on and was outstanding because he delivered what we wanted. Mm-hmm. So when we say he was outstanding, did he score a goal? No. Did he provide an assist? I think no. But he provided just something. Now, the issue is that certain players do that and then they don't do it when they start. And I'm not saying that Jack can't do it, and I'm not saying he should be used as a substitute. But Rico, by the way, had a massive impact as well. He was one that got us going first of all. I think he got on the run first of all, cut inside and had an effort. But 3 weeks ago, it was we need to drop Rico because he's not good enough. So it's easy to kind of look at our so-called fans' favourites and kind of build them up. But there's no denying yesterday that Jack just brought what we needed. We needed somebody to get at Wycombe. They were there for the taking. And I think he proved that. And I think with him pushing forward, with Rico doing the same, wanting to get at players, that then fits into what I said in the first, a minute ago about the first half with Ben House. You can have Ben House doing Ben House things, but those two complemented him better. Yeah. It was a really good start to the second half. I can't remember if the disallowed goal came. No, that came after our first goal, didn't it? So we can go straight to the first goal. I can hear a whistling. Is that me?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe it's just my headphones.
Oh, but I mean, well, we do have something to talk about before the first goal, which was the man who came on and was unbelievable for us. Got himself booked for diving, Gary.
Oh yes, yeah. Don't even get right. I don't know, but every year they talk about rule changes, and there's this 8-second rule that they've been talking about recently, which, by the way, Ollie Langford had no interest at all in dealing with, certainly later in the game. But anyway, we haven't seen anything done with that. I'm sure there must have been a rule change where if there's a slight question mark over a foul, the referee books for diving, because that's 3 we've seen now. Why do for Plymouth? And again, people, I'm not biased here towards Lincoln City. The lad was booked, second booking, and sent off at 3-2 for there was a clash. I don't think he's dived. He's booked and sent off. Tendai against Salford. He's tried to get straight back up. The referee sent him off. That's a foul on Jack Moylan, right? I've watched it back. It's a foul. The lad knows what he's doing because as he's gone in to challenge him, there's a leg out and he turns his back. It's not a full-blooded challenge. It's a trailing leg. Jack's problem is he's gone down like he's an animated cartoon character who has been hit in the back by a big thing of TNT. It's all arms and legs going down. It looks like the comedy image of if a bird flew at your window. If like Hanna-Barbera drew a bird flying at your window, that's what he looked like. But that's what goes against him. Now, how he falls is not relevant. If a player does that further up the field, the referee gives a free kick. And by the way, it's not a penalty because it's outside the area, the initial contact, but it's a foul.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that's not on the regular highlights or the extended highlights, but it was one of those moments where obviously everybody in the ground screaming for a penalty because they think it is. It's not. Like you say, it's outside the box, but it's a clear foul. It's a clever foul from Moylan because he's done what we see players do week in, week out, and we actually had this conversation.
It's not clever, is it? Because it wasn't given.
Well,
all I'm going to say, sorry, I'm not jumping in over you, but what I'm going to say is I don't think that Jack plays for the foul because if he gets past the player, he's got an effort. He's got a shot on goal. I don't think he sees the leg and thinks, I'm going over that. So it's not clever because he's caught and he goes over. I don't think there's any intent for him to dive until he's misfooted. And then obviously unless he's just got vertigo, I don't know.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, it felt to me a little bit like he'd left the foot there in order to make the contact. And we see that week in, week out across the whole of, the Football League. And yeah, for him to get booked for that, it was just a bizarre decision in an afternoon of I think 3 or 4 controversial decisions from our perspective. But then what are we looking at? That was 53 minutes and then 63 minutes. So 10 minutes later, Tom Bayliss goes off. James Collins goes off. Again, I think another one who I think was probably. It's out of character for him, but I think he was a little bit anonymous yesterday as well, was Tom Bayliss. He was taken off for Justin Abikwu. And talk about a way to make an impact. The ball comes in from Tom Hamer, and with his first touch, Justin Abikwu gets us back in the game. Clever move.
Yeah. First of all, I don't think Tom Bayliss was as bad as probably some social media think. I think we just needed to push forward. We needed to pull forward more, and so Michael's decided to get more attacking players on. I thought he was man of the match against Doncaster last week. I've looked at his numbers; they weren't quite Conor McGrandle's levels, but they weren't bad. If that goes in, James Collins scores, or Ben House scores the one that James Collins kind of doesn't pass to him in the first half, and everyone's going, "What a great ball from Bayliss! Well played, Hamer." So fine margins, but I can understand why he came off. But yeah, Justin Abikwu. Probably, I've literally just said I don't think some players make an impact from the start. At Rotherham, Abikwu didn't play well from the start. He did in the game before. I can't think who that was against. Now it seems so long ago. Bradford, but played well against Bradford. But he came on to instant. Now, funnily enough, Michael Duff in his post-match said, they've worked a long throw because that's what they do. We didn't work a long throw. Actually, it was a cross from Tom Hamer, so he's clearly misremembered that. From their point of view, you've got to think how bad defending, as their third goal for us was, which we'll come on to. But yeah, it was a nice finish. And the thing is, as soon as that goal went in, I thought, here we go. And sometimes you'll be 2-0 down, you'll score, and it's a consolation. The number of times, there was one at Oxford a couple of years ago, I think we lost 2-1, and Scully scored late on for us, and you think, well, we're not going to get out from this. Birmingham, when Jovan scored, I know they were late goals, but sometimes it's 2-1, and you think, oh, well, at least we've got something. Yesterday, it was, we could win this. We could win this. Without a doubt.
Yeah, we should have done. it felt like that, and you could see that the belief in the players as well. Like obviously, as soon as the goal goes in, everybody rushes back into the into our half. There's no overly long celebrations, anything like that. It's just right, get back, let's crack on with it. And there was a chance shortly afterwards for Ben House. Jack Moylan went through, played a lovely ball through to Ben House, who put it. It was a hair's breadth away hair's breadth. Sorry, I should say not hair's breadth. It's breadth from going in and nestling in that bottom corner, but just went wide. And that's what you were saying. It's that aggressive run. It's that sort of aggressive football that we were looking for and that we've been, I think, probably crying out for a little bit. Jack Moylan gets the ball. He's got one thing on his mind. He knows what he wants to do. He sees Ben House making the run, plays the ball through, and it's just an agonisingly close finish.
Ben House points as well. Ben House shows him where he wants it, but Jack Moylan has the balls to play it rather than checking back. And there was 2 or 3 times in the first half where actually Ben House is a much more intelligent centre forward than I think sometimes he gets credit for. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'll talk about him being a workhorse. I'll talk about him. You take the number 9 pressure away, and he's a great player for us. Sometimes his finishing is left wanting. Granted, I think Exeter was a clear indication of that. But he's clever with his runs. He made 1 or 2 in the first half, but Jack Moylan has the balls, the ability, the vision, whatever you want to call it, to put the ball in. Is it any coincidence that the season Ben House scored 15 was when Danny Mandroyu, a player who had that vision, and Ted Bishop, a player that had that vision, was able to play him in? I don't know. It'd be interesting. I might actually look back and just see how many of those goals that Ben scored in that season were assisted by 1 or 2 of those players. So, but then you see he doesn't finish it, but there's not a lot more he can do. But it was just another example of we're onto it here.
Yeah, absolutely. You could feel it was starting. Well, it had shifted by that point. I think if you look at if you go back and look at some of the numbers, like the first half was pretty even. Wycombe shaded it. The second half was all Lincoln all the way through. And then Freddie gets his goal, which I was delighted for him. It was good work from Rico. You mentioned that Rico had a good 45 when he came on. It was some good work from him getting down the wing, plays it back in to Adam Reach, and it was a lovely, lovely cross from Adam Reach. Draper just gets around the other side of his man, gets a foot on it, just nestles inside the post, 2-2. And at that point, I was genuinely thinking, this is in the bag here. We've got this. This is 3 points.
Well, Fred had 1 ruled out just before that for a push, which...
Should we talk about that one first?
Well, no, I was only going to mention it just briefly. We'll talk about them generally being ruled out together. So, to be honest, looking back, the more I look at that, the more I can see why the ref's given it. I don't think it is a foul. I don't think it's any worse of a push than we were seeing back the other way, but I can see why he's not giving it. You thought, Fred needs a goal. And like you say, then he gets it. And at 2-2, I was just absolutely convinced that we were going to go on and win the game. Absolutely convinced that we were going to win it. We were flowing. We really looked good. And then I don't know which was first, whether it was Bradley's disallowed goal or Ibiku's miss.
I think it was Bradley's disallowed goal.
Okay, we'll talk about that. That should have been a goal. Because he blows, I think, for a push from Draper in the middle of the park. That's what Y-Scout have got it down for. But as the ball comes in, Bradley's having his shirt pulled off his back. So if one's a foul, the other's a foul. So at what point does a referee prioritise what he thinks is the push by Draper when he's ignoring Bradley having his shirt pulled off his back? And we actually got a penalty earlier in the season for a shirt being pulled. And I praised the referee for that, by the way. I can't remember who it was. We were playing. It will come back to me. And I thought that's sensible refereeing. Finally, somebody that's going to clamp down on it. And then Langford doesn't. And, for me, there's no other foul. The players fall over in the melee all the time. And I've watched it back. There's no clear push. There's no clear pull. It's wrestling, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But he just gives it the other way. He was never going to give anything that was even slightly controversial.
Wigan was that game.
Oh, was it? I was thinking there was the penalty against Plymouth. But yeah, Wigan. Yeah, it was a shirt pull. And at the end of the day, Gerard, I see, that's the inconsistency. And that's why I get so angry and upset about referees. And if I remember the Wigan game, even though I was a little bit critical of the decision to send Rob Street off, I actually praised that referee, even though he sent one of our players off at the time. My argument was the interpretation of the rule, and that's the same thing here. Is a shirt pull a foul or not? And the thing is, this is a decision that has directly affected the outcome of the game. It's not a decision where we're going, well, it would have been 3-1, or well, we might have come back after that. If that goal stands, it's 3-2. That's a different game. It's a different game altogether. It's frustrating.
It is, yeah. And then it's almost as frustrating as Justin Abitku almost having his Gaza moment shortly afterwards. Moylan again feeds Hackett, absolutely delicious cross across the 6-yard box. And Justin Abitku gets his foot on it, but if his studs were just half a centimetre longer, we're celebrating the third goal and we're celebrating the Lincoln City win. And to be honest with you, Gary, I did celebrate that because I thought it had gone in.
I celebrated it. I did. I was up. I was like, it's in. He's got it. Even like watching it back, I swear every time I watch it back, it's going to go in.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy. I'm not going to be critical of Abitku at all.
Oh, no.
I think I saw on Facebook he's missed a sitter and all of that. I'm not critical of him at all. He's made the right run. It's the right move. He's literally, his leg is just an inch too short. The ball's just an inch. But it's that you want to see. We were having chances. Somebody, I think Rico after the match said something about we were too passive at 2-2. Not the case, I don't think, unless I've misunderstood that. We had that opportunity. We've got a goal disallowed. I thought we were trying to do everything to win it. When we scored our second, if you watch the celebration, the players get the ball. It was Danny Cowley style. We're not settling for 2-2 here. We believed that we could win the ball. And in reality, Wycombe had done almost nothing. I mean, and that's why one of the arguments with XG, like their XG in the second half was 0.92, which was more than ours because of a couple of chances that they had, believe it or not, at the beginning of the second half, which, we don't remember. Decent chances, by the way, for them. It wasn't as dominant in the second half as we think. We did have a lot more of the ball. We had the chances, but they could have scored. So,
yeah. Well, they could have scored, and shortly after they did. And this was the real frustration. You watch the replay leading up to the corner. Reach makes the challenge for the corner, and then they take it. When you look at it back up in real time, it feels a little bit like Abitku backs away from a challenge. The ball goes straight through a crowd of players, and Grimmer at the other end of it. He's watching the ball all the way through, and he just manages to get his foot on it, and it's a goal. The person that wasn't watching it all the way through was Tendai Darikwa, who was attached to him like a limpet. And he, as it comes across, you just look. He's not looking at where the ball's going, and he's more focused on getting involved with Grimmer. And you just think, who switched off more there? It really, really annoying and really, really disappointing to see what happened with that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, a big crew could have blocked it at the near post. But for me, we're marking Grimmer at the back stick, and it's so uncharacteristic. It's the only corner they had all game. Had one corner, and that was it. It was just, it was for a neutral, what an end to a game. Absolutely cracking. What an end to a game. But from a Lincoln City point of view, that for me, that's the weakest goal of them all. Because you can't bounce. It can't bounce across like that. And even if it does, it's not someone coming in unmarked at the back stick. Michael won't be happy with that when he watches it back, and Tendai won't be happy with it either. And whether he was focusing on stopping Grimmer or not, Grimmer basically got there. So if that's what he was focusing on, then unlucky. It was frustrating end to a really good game. A game we lost 3-2. That on another day, it would have been 4-2 and out of sight before they even got the opportunity for the corner. So it is what it is. I'm a little bit flabbergasted because we were top of the league going into it. We're not a top of the table team.
No,
and that's no criticism of what we are. It's where everyone else is. There are teams, bigger and better than us in this division, who we go toe to toe with week in, week out. But what's frustrating is that we could have come away with something, and we were the architects of our own downfall. And even even with that, the referee was also the architect of our downfall. But credit to Wycombe, they're a decent, organised side. And we tend to have thrillers against Wycombe, which is...
Well, we have since Ainsworth left, let's put it that way. I remember there was it a 1-1 draw at the Bank that was dire.
0-0.
A couple of seasons ago.
I mean, obviously, it was 3-2 at the Bank last season, 3-1 at their place last game, Danny Cowley. 2-2 was first game back in the league. I think we won 3-1 there in 2006. They beat us 3-2 in what I always claim as the Matt Bloomer game, I think, when Nathan Tyson had got a first half hat trick and Bloomer came off at half time. And I think the first league meeting, we won 3-2 as well. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what, let's park that just for the moment. We will come back the other side of an ad break, and then we'll have a little bit more analysis on the Wycombe game, and then we will go into a few other bits of news. So, we'll see you in just a second.
Probably not a lot more of analysis. I didn't realise how far it had gone on. Am I doing what Chris does? Am I talking too much?
No, you're not that bad.
It's because I haven't been on so long.
It's all right.
Right, I'll let you do all this stuff.
It's all right. Let's see what we've got in. Gerard's in, says evening all. Flossie's in, says a week is a long time in football. Hello, everyone. Richard's in, evening, mate. Good evening, and hope you aren't feeling too downhearted. The league is still anyone's to grab by the scruff of the neck, and I think that's probably the thing we need to do, but I don't know whether we will. Andy Devon Imp is in. Dave Tuplin's in. Says evening, everybody. Lord Grimsby is in. So hold on. I think the inconsistencies in this league will continue for the rest of the season with no one side running away with it. Fair one. I don't think there's going to be a late shout for a Birmingham or a Wrexham this season.
Bolton and Stockport, I think, will be a little bit ahead of everybody by the time the season finishes.
Fair.
Personally.
Fair enough. Right. Steve's in, Mr. Barton. Message from Gary saying, not long, guys. I'm just outside in the cold with a dog that doesn't want to get it done.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea. People were in well early for the chat, as they normally are. Ollie says, a wrongly disallowed goal and 2 studs up into our players. I know we shouldn't blame the ref, but in a league so tight, 2 or 3 wrong decisions could be the difference between autos and not even playoffs. Yeah. Ian at London Imp says, good evening, can't wait for Saturday. It's been 6 weeks since I last went to the Bank. Thought Draper looked sharp yesterday. He was getting into good positions in the box. Wonder if he's picked that up from Collins. Podcast Mum's in. Leslie's in. Says, evening, kids. How are you getting on?
Lonely at home.
I was going to say, how are you getting on with everybody, down under? And we hope that Emily actually made it over there safely. She's not texted us yet, has she? But then we probably get it, with a big old delay. Let's have a look. Who else is in? Malcolm's in. Sue's in. It says evening all. Walter's in. Evening, gents. Trying to get over yesterday's disappointment. Jacob's here. How we doing? I think that's probably about it. So
yeah, I'm just doing something. I just inadvertently shared something to a banter that I didn't mean to while you were doing that.
No worries. Leslie says they arrived safe. Excellent stuff. It's all good to hear. We need to talk about the goalkeeper at the very end.
Yeah, do that then, and then
because that was bloody annoying. So right, when you're ready, mate, we'll come back in.
Can you tell I'm doing something else? I promised Chris Ray that I would plug his Imp tunes. So if you're watching, he's doing a Christmas extravaganza, which I have just tried sharing everywhere. And because I wasn't concentrating, I've inadvertently shared it to Banter, Lincoln City Banter, rather than Stacey West, which is really clever. But what I will do, as I have promised Chris, and as you are all watching now, is I will post the link to the eBay item. I should do it on eBay affiliate and earn from it, but I'm not that mercenary, in the comments. So that is now done.
Right, so there we go.
So there you go and buy things from Chris Ray.
Absolutely. Right, we'll come back in.
Quickly. Maybe we'll wish Sam Ray well at the end of the podcast.
Yes, 100%. Okay, right. We'll come back in 3, 2, 1. There we go. So adverts, go buy stuff. Probably, I don't know. We'll see. So I think there's only really a couple of other bits that we needed to touch on. One of them, Norris. I was really, really annoyed just at his antics yesterday. And again, it goes back to the referee not clamping down on things like this. Time wasting is one thing. When they've brought in this new 8-second rule, we should have had another couple of corners yesterday. That's,
the only person that it reflects on is the referee, because we do it, everyone does it. The referee's got to clamp down on it. They didn't clamp down on it against Exeter when he booked Whitworth in the first half, and then just let him get on with it in the second half. That was annoying. But Ollie Langford didn't really seem to care, and he didn't even add it on at the end. Like there was in the 8 minutes of injury time, there was the thing with the Bicru where it's a dive. You know, a Bicru's just hardly touched him as he's walked past the keeper's dive. That's where the referee needs to go. That's a dive, yellow card. Indirect free kick or whatever he wants to do, but he gives the free kick. I looked at it, it was a minute to a minute and a half that went on. Well, that should go on the end of the 8 minutes. And normally I go, well, you can't win it in 90, why are you going to win it in, or 96, why are you going to win it in 97 and a half? But actually, the way we were playing, there was every chance that we might have got something. We might have got a draw. Last year at Wycombe, we got a draw in the last minute. So for me, again, and I think somebody mentioned it actually in the chat. I think it was is that Ollie Class. 8 minutes of injury time, 8 minutes against Bolton. If rest were consistent, we'd have time for another chance against Wycombe, and we would have had. I personally think there was a good 10 minutes. But that's up to the referee. And Michael Scabala has said it himself in interviews. Is we're the managers. We've got to win games. We'll do whatever we can. You put a rule in place, we'll try and get around it. But it's up to the referee to do that rule, so to impose that rule, and he didn't. So again, it's on him. Even if Norris is there's only one keeper that has ever done something that I have actually looked at him and thought, you mate are a massive bellend, and that was Adam Davis, Sheffield United keeper, when he threw Lucas Jensen's
bottle when he threw the water bottle away.
United. Anything else a keeper does in normal time, usually it's up to the referee to clamp down on, and we would applaud our keeper for doing it. Well done, Wickens, going down there. Do you know what I mean? We would. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to be consistent and blame the ref.
Fair. Yeah, no, it was a really annoying moment. Like you watch it back, Abikwu just taps him and he goes down like his hand's made of lead. I think he probably hurts himself more hitting the floor.
But he holds his face. He holds his face. Down.
Yeah,
that's what really annoys me, because Abikwu has kind of almost tapped him on the ass as he's walked past, and he holds his face when he goes down. That's where the referee needs to book him. But Ollie Langford is definitely a massive home referee. So let's hope we get him at Sincil Bank fairly soon.
I was going to say, let's hope he's coming soon. So, right. Let's park the game, because I think overall it's a disappointment. We need to move past it. We're playing bottom of the table Port Vale on Saturday next week. We will be previewing it on Wednesday.
Let's just call them Port Vale.
Okay.
Thanks.
We're playing
This
Port
takes
Vale.
A little bit of pressure off, doesn't it? Because I can't remember the last time we beat the bottom team.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, Port Vale on Saturday. Then there we go. We're previewing that game on Wednesday, and hopefully we'll try and get a preview together. I know the previews have been a little bit sporadic this season, well, over the past few weeks, because we've all been horrifically busy. Charlie's moved back, and there's been a lot going on. So it's all. We'll hopefully have one sorted for this week. Right, a couple of other bits of news coming out of the bank this week. The first one, Jamie Pardington has gone out on loan to Oxford City until January. This obviously follows hot on the news of Zach Geacock signing his new deal. Makes sense for Jamie to go out, doesn't it, Gaz?
Yeah, kept a clean sheet yesterday. Faced 2.46 XG, made, I think, 9 saves, 6 were reflexes. He had a superb first game. Jamie's the third man, which was the title of a Graham Greene book that I studied at school, which was very good, about penicillin racketeer, I think, in Austria around the time of the war. Very good book. Well, it was good when they explained it to us. First time I read it, couldn't make head nor arsehole of it. But not entirely unsurprising. probably when it comes to the end of Jamie's contract, you may imagine that he might move on. He's 25. He's going to want to play more regular games. He had one game, I think, for wherever he went at Telford earlier in the season. He had 2 games, I think, for Peterborough Sports. He can't get a break. He needs a run of games. He's 25. If he's going to break out, he needs to break out very soon. So yeah, makes sense for him to go out and get some games, definitely.
Absolutely. We wish him all the best with that one. And the other person that we're wishing all the best at the moment is Oscar Thorne. He has had surgery on his ankle, and he will be out for the foreseeable future. Now, Michael Skubala spoke about this in the pre-match press conference, said that it was an ankle injury that we were aware of when he came into the squad, or when he, I'm going to use the phrase that Chris hates now, when he came into the building. It's not great, is it? So yeah, he had the ankle injury when he joined us. He's had surgery on it now. They've been managing it with game time and just trying to pace himself a little bit through it, but it's flared up a little bit. So he has gone in. Looks like it's been successful. He posted a photo from his hospital bed. So yeah, we obviously wish him all the best, and this would probably suggest that next season is when we're going to see Oscar making a bit of a break into the side, guess.
Yeah, I don't know whether I think his recovery is meant to be before that. I think Michael had mentioned in his pre-match press or something like getting back after Christmas.
Okay.
So who knows? We shall see. Yeah, we'll wish him all the best. Obviously, he's the sort of player that we need. He's direct. He's also young, so it's the right time to get it done. Feels a little bit like Dom Jeffries from last year, and possibly when we signed Dom as well. By the way, in the building, absolutely despise it. Apparently, Colin Murphy used it a lot. Do you know what I find worse about cliches and things like that is when managers and coaches use them, and very soon after, fans start using them as well. And again, I've done it. When fans start saying, well, we've got such and such in the building, it's like, honestly, and I do it. The way Michael does it, you listen to a manager too often, like, we tried to play through the thirds, we tried to play through the lines. I did something the other day, I can't remember what, I was doing a dog walk, and I was talking like Michael, because Michael Squella has a certain affliction sometimes when he's talking. I can't do it now. There's a certain pace and a certain kind of ending a sentence on a rise, and I found myself doing it, and I'm like, people are going to think I'm like Steve McLaren going over trying to talk. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, good luck, Oscar Thorne.
Yeah, absolutely. Back on the grass is another one that I'm not a big fan of.
I can handle that one because there is a difference between training in the gym and going out on the grass. I can understand that because that's factual. But when you say, we've got such and such in the building, well, let him out. I mean, you know what I mean? He's got to drive home.
Just Rico Hackett banging on the door.
Yeah, he's in the building, but we can't get him out. So we're going to play with 10 men. Or we're going to put Rob Street out wide, which is like playing with 10 men.
Sorry,
Gary. Rob. No, he's a centre forward. We'll go on to the questions, but he proved it. He scored 12 goals for Donny last season. I understand why we're playing him there, because we want him to have the game time. We know he's good. We know he's got a bit of pace, but he's a centre forward. The way we play, we can only play one centre forward. We can only play Collins or Street. And there's only going to be so long where we play Collins before we go, do you know what? We'll play Rob Street for a bit. Not a big one either for me. Play our man there. Play the guy that was the leading scorer in all of the EFL in the last 6 months of last season.
Yeah, no,
not absolutely. The second leading scorer, which was James Collins.
Yeah, no, I think it feels a bit like a reverse Jovan situation where we knew the best position for him, and well, we found the best position for him, and it was out wide for Jovan, and it's opposite for Rob. So, right, we shall come on to our questions. If you want to get some questions in, the best way to do that is get on board with the Patreon and get involved in the Stacey West Discord, which is a good old little hub for some proper spirited debate sometimes. But yeah, it's all in the best ways possible. So, questions here. We've got the first one from Dridimp, says, which player would make the biggest impact on the team were they out injured? Now, Gary, I will come to you first because I think one of my answers is interesting.
I have two, and having seen the notes that you made when you inadvertently copied and pasted your notes over along with the question, I'm not going to pick them. I think Ben House. I think we lack a real energy linking the holding midfielders and the forward play when Ben House isn't there. And it's not a link in the traditional sense of picking up the ball from midfield, driving it forward. Sometimes that's a link in terms of having possession. I just mean in terms of having somebody that's running in all of that space. I like Ben House in that position. I really do. Got loads of time for him. I think when he doesn't play, we lack, or we have slightly less energy. And for me, there is another, and I know you're going to mention him. Or I hope you're going to mention him because you mentioned two, and I really hope you mention the one who the correct answer is. So I'm saying answer number 2, which is Ben House.
Yeah, for me, it's Sonny Bradley.
Yes, well done.
There we go. Yeah, no, he is. We were discussing this yesterday with Charlie. You couldn't have asked for a more perfect replacement for Paudie O'Connor in Sonny Bradley, and it's got to the point where we're talking about cliches. You look at it, you go, Paudie who? Like, he
not comparing
genuinely.
the two. Comparison is the thief of joy. Praise Sonny on his merits.
It is, but I don't miss having. I don't miss Paudie O'Connor at this point. Like, Sonny Bradley has just been superb, and whether it's necessarily about the player, I think the depth is obviously there. If Sonny's out, we've got the depth to cover him. But from an opposition point of view, who would you rather be coming up against, Riley Towler or Sonny Bradley?
Well, if you ask Emily, she'd definitely rather come up against Riley Towler, I think.
Yeah, but there's a very different motivation there, isn't there, Gary?
But if it was going toe to toe for a fight, I'd definitely rather come up against Riley Towler. And I'm not saying I could have Riley Towler, because I'm sure that I couldn't, because he's a younger man than me. But honestly, anybody that's got a tattoo of a jungle animal on his throat, as far as I'm concerned, is a monster. All joking aside, I think Sonny's been excellent for us. And okay, the ball split the defence yesterday, and maybe a quicker defender gets across, whatever. He's been there, he's done it. John Helm talks about how he's a leader in the dressing room. I'm sure if 10 was out for any period of time, Bradley would be the captain. So, yeah, and he's a great person for Riley Towler to learn off. I mean, if Riley Towler's tattooist wants to have a go on his throat and make him take that pretty boy look away and that pristine hair and, the David Beckham and centre-back looks that Riley Towler's got, and stick some of that Hull aggression on him from Sonny Bradley, then, nobody better to learn from. I would imagine he's a great role model for younger players.
Oh, 100%. Like, everybody that I've spoken to just says he's the nicest bloke. Like, he does have an air of Michael Bostwick around him.
I was just going to say that, yeah, Bostwick.
Crosses over the line, just turns into a different beast, and then as soon as he leaves the pitch, he's like, yep, nicest bloke you'll ever meet. So
as soon as he crosses the paint, there's another one.
Crosses that white line. Right, so next question is from Scunny Imp. He says, how much do you think luck plays in a team season in terms of the fixture list, so when you play teams, etc.? The question says, we played a Wycombe side with a new manager on a good run of form a few months ago. That's probably a more favourable fixture. And similarly, if we played Peterborough now, it would be an entirely different proposition to when we beat them 3-0.
Yeah, I think you could say it's luck, but there are also going to be teams that are down and out. For instance, when we played Plymouth, they probably weren't as bad as they have been subsequently. Played quite a good Plymouth side. We played Peterborough at the right time, probably played Wycombe at the wrong time. It would have been nice to have played the other guys that sacked their manager. But yeah, there is luck, but that goes down. You can read too much into it, because anyone can beat anyone on the day. And we went to Bolton, good Bolton side, Cozy Dewberry, all of that, drew 1-1. Nice to get that one out of the way. It's like playing teams that are down at the bottom in the last 10 games of the season. We talked last season about, all our games were tough because they were teams in and around the top 8. It was a really tough running. But you could argue that teams at the bottom are scrapping and fighting just as much, unless they're the team that gets drubbed. But anyone that played Burton in the last 8 games of last season have come up against a team that were doing outrageously well for their overall league position. So, yeah, there's an element of luck, but unlike refereeing decisions, we go, it evens itself out over the season. But there's actually no proof that it does. there's no proof that we're now going to get favourable decisions from a referee. And if it does even itself out, we are due about 4 goals, a red card, and a couple of rescinded yellows for diving. But I think when it comes to fixtures, it's like us. Wycombe might actually have gone, well, playing Lincoln yesterday, it's a better prospect than playing them when they've just beaten Chelsea and Luton and Peterborough. So, that's the fixture list, isn't it? Of course, there's luck to it, to answer Scunny Imp's question. But I don't think that there are many teams that are unlucky over all 46 of their fixtures.
100%. Right, Dave T asks, with Collins out of form in the 9 position, who would you play on Saturday from our current squad? He agrees with you. So Street to me is wasted on the right a bit. Bickwell and Draper both scored, so we have options. For what it's worth, Dave would like to see Freddie given a chance there.
No, I could understand it. I personally would be playing, and I may change this when I do my starting 11 video for Patreons later in the week, but I would have Street through the middle next week. I would have House and Hackett on the flanks, and I'd play Freddie in the 10. I don't think that Jack Moylan is ready to start in terms of fitness, and I think it would be foolish to risk him. But it wouldn't surprise me if we don't start him and give him 60, at which point Fred probably drops to the bench. But again, there's a big crew as well. And we can be as critical as we want about different players and different positions, but we're in a situation where we can make those changes. We don't have to play Rob Street on the right. We can play him through the middle. We don't have to play James Collins. We don't have to play anybody because we've got so many options.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I think I'd like to see Rob Street given that chance. Like you say, banged him in for Doncaster towards the end of the season, and that was the player we thought we were going to be getting back, not necessarily a winger. I would be very interested to see what's happened with Eric Ring. I know that's...
I don't think anything's happened.
Well, I mean, is it an injury that's kept him out of the squad? Because he had a decent couple of games, off the back of a cup. He played well against Salford, and then who was it he played? Who was it who played after that? Obviously scored against Salford. Played well against. Did he play against Barnsley? But he had a couple of decent games, and we just thought,
Barnsley. Yeah, I do. But again, I think it's kind of horses for courses a little bit. And I think there was talk of him training on his own on Saturday morning from somebody, whether he was trying to run something off. We don't need to risk these players. And look, Eric's outing against Plymouth when he was carrying an injury clearly didn't do him any good. At the end of the day, we've got enough players to put a squad out and have some sat on the sidelines. And yesterday, for this particular game, Eric was the one that missed out. And when you look at the 4 main changes that we made and how they affected the game, you can't argue with it. So I think that people always try to find a conspiracy theory. Sometimes they are right. The Sam Clucas situation last season, there was a degree of a conspiracy theory around that. And actually that was then people, at the end of the season, it was, well, we didn't play him for whatever reason. So it did feel like perhaps there was more to that. I don't think there's more to the Eric thing. Can I just pick up on a comment that Gerard's made in the feed? Because he said it might sound stupid, but perhaps we have too many options. And do you know what? I actually thought that as I was answering, and I'm pleased he's picked it up, because it's hard. I would rather we have too many options than not enough. We've seen what happens when you have not enough. You end up playing Hakiba Delican and Danny Mandroy up top or whatever. So we've seen what happens. But I can see what he means. Because if a player's out of form, he gets dropped straight away. But then if you're out of form and you get dropped, how do you get your form back? So the fact that we can replace, Frankie Okawankwo's come into the side, he's done all right. I don't think there was ever a point where I looked at him and thought he's been absolutely outstanding. Certainly not in league fixtures, but he's managed to creep in. Justin Abikru had some starts, dropped out. James Collins has played 9. Fred Draper's played 9. Rob Street's kind of been out wide. He's played 9. And it goes back into what I was talking to Roy, just a little bit of consistency over 3 or 4 games. And maybe we've had that and I'm being a little bit blinking, but it just feels to me like there's been quite a lot of chopping and changing. And I think, well, look, just Port Vale's a great opportunity. Burslem, Port Vale, not bottom of the league, Port Vale. It's a great opportunity to go out there and do something. But I think whatever forward line we pick for that, we have to have a look at playing that the next week and the next week. But Michael Scabala is a tinkerer. He's always admitted it, and a game at Port Vale where they're going to sit deep and they're going to want to be broken down is going to be really different to going away to Huddersfield where they're going to come on and they're going to attack you. So that's why we changed. So maybe it's not stupid, but it has crossed my mind, Gerard, that we may. It's like the kid that has all the toys. If you've got all the expensive toys, you can't play with them all, can you? You'll see my video game cabinet.
Yeah, I'd rather not discuss my video game cabinet, but there we go. Yeah. Right. Holton Holgate Joe says, in all of the post-match discussions and articles, I've seen very little scrutiny of George's performance. He conceded 3 goals yesterday. My question is, does George still have credit in the bank, or is it possibly time to think about giving Zach a run?
No, George is our number 1 goalkeeper. You could blame him for one of the goals against Rotherham. The second one, he was unsighted. The third one, not a lot he could do. Probably the same story yesterday. I think you can blame him, or you can place a portion of blame. It's not a mistake, but it goes through his legs for the first one. There's not a lot he can do for the second one. There really isn't. It's a great ball. I don't think it's indecision on his part that costs us it. And the third one, what does he do? If the ball's up in the air, he goes and claims it. Fair enough, but it's not. It's waist height or whatever across the pitch. There's not a lot he can do. You stick with him. If we start chopping and changing goalkeepers, that lacks the consistency that we've just been talking about up front. And you've got to contrast Michael Appleton's second season, full season in charge, the post-Wembley season, with Mark Kennedy's first, only full season. In Appleton, I think I did an article and we had something like 30 different combinations of back five behind in front of Josh Griffith, and he never got going. And then the next season, we had Carl Rushworth, but a settled back five where we played the same players like 80% of the time. And you can see the difference. So, yeah, for me, no, you keep George Wickens in. G-Cock's a good goalkeeper. He'll get his chance eventually, but at the minute, no. Yep,
no, I'd agree with that 100%. And then I think the last question to round us out for this comes from Danny92. Says we're close to the halfway point in the season and in third place, despite not playing to our full potential and having dropped a few unlucky points. Assuming no major injuries and things click into place in the second half of the season, where do you think we can finish?
Not playing to our full potential is an interesting observation. Big Peterborough 3-0, Luton 3-1. We took the world champions to within a whisker of getting a result. I think given the budget compared to many others, I think we're something like 16th in the budget table. I think when it comes out, I've heard a whisper. So to be up there and 16th, we're certainly playing to a level of our potential. I don't think you can look at this squad and go, it's underachieving. So, and I understand where Danny's coming from, that there have been a handful of games where we've gone, we haven't been as good as we should be. But you can count those probably on one finger. Rotherham, Leyton Orient. I would argue yesterday we were as good as we should be.
Is that one finger from Boston?
I meant one hand. But fair play to you for picking it up. Fair play to picking up. So you can count what I think are genuinely bad performances on one hand. I think Danny's right to a degree. Exeter should have won that game, lost 1-0. There's 3 points we should have had. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But probably Wigan drew 2-2, a bit of a lucky point. We gave a point away against Mansfield, but that was a sending off. There was late goal against Bolton. There's the late goal yesterday. So I get it. But if in the second half of the season we replicate what we've done in the first half of the season and finish anywhere in the top 6, make no mistake, that'll be a huge achievement. And people will accuse me of being propaganda wing of Lincoln City. I've noticed that's a comment a few times that comes out. But honestly, I still think we're overachieving, and it feels bad. Somebody put we're dropping like a stone. We've gone on social media. We've gone from first to third. I mean, we climbed up the table without playing, which is the exact opposite of dropping like a stone. So I would argue, Danny, that we're probably not playing under our potential. There are dropped points, but I think that we're probably overperforming a little bit, if I'm honest, based on multiple factors. So if we were to finish top 6, I would be out so good. I still think that we'll probably finish 8 to 11.
I think where we are at the moment, we've put ourselves in good stead for the rest of the season. The caveat to that is that the league is so tight at the moment. I think there was, what was it, before the weekend, there was something like 8 points between 1st and 16th. Yeah. It's insane. Where are we at the moment? So top of Cardiff with 29, and so Orient at 16th with 21. So a little mini run. One team gets a mini run, and then they find themselves at the top of the table. I genuinely don't know at this point. It's too close to call it.
If all teams were to win their games in hand, and we know that won't happen, because it doesn't happen, but we could potentially be 9th if all teams, because Stockport are 1 game in hand, level on points. Yep. Bolton 1 game in hand, 1 point behind. Stevenage 3 games in hand, 1 point behind. Huddersfield 2 games in hand, 3 points behind. Wimbledon a game in hand, 3 points behind, and Barnsley 2 games in hand, 4 points behind. So, we're 3rd at the minute, but when it all settles down, 8th or 9th, and I think 8th or 9th is probably, like I say, I think between 8th and 11th. But get through Christmas and ask me again, because what do you play? 5 games in a week and a half, 2 weeks at Christmas. You come through, get January the 3rd here, get New Year's Day out of the way as well, FA Cup 3rd round weekend. If we're anywhere in and around that top 6 after that, then I might change my expectations.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure. I'd like to think we're on the fringes of the playoffs come, March, April time. So it would be lovely. Right. I think that's probably all we've got in terms of questions. One thing that I think we probably should plug, because we did it in the break, but obviously the break was had an advert for all of you audio listeners. Imptunes are doing a Christmas cracker, I think. I did see it.
Should we say Imptunes are or Imptunes is? He's a one-man band.
Oh, you see, that is another good question. Do you say Lincoln City are or Lincoln City is?
Yeah, because they're a collective. There's more than one person.
There you go. But yeah, Imptunes have. There you go. Imptunes have put on sale. They've put on sale a collection of bits through the season. I think it's got a couple of yearbooks that Chris found, and a few other bits that are all up for sale. All the proceeds will go to the club or the foundation, Gary, this time around.
Yeah, Imptunes. That's a special Imptunes he did of Me and My Old Man, which is behind me there. I've got an Imptunes up here. Well, I think one of these drawers is absolutely full of them. I've got my Imptunes magnet there, so he does a phenomenal amount of work. Don't tell him I said that. I doubt he listens to the podcast, but don't tell him I said that. But very, very talented man. And also features in my book, which will be, I think it's available on Amazon now, my new A to Z, which I've completely forgot to plug. But I had all the pre-orders for that, so they will be ordered tomorrow and hopefully be here on Saturday so that I can hand them out at Port Vale. So if you do want to order that, I'll put the link actually while Ben talks in a minute, just in the chat here.
Yeah. And then, of course, the other thing on that front, as part of the Ray clan, we need to send all of our best wishes to Sam. Get well soon, mate. Hope you're on the mend quickly. And you're feeling a lot better. So
yeah, definitely. I felt so bad. So sorry for Sam. He is a staunch Lincoln fan, home and away, and couldn't make it yesterday. So best of luck, mate, for that.
Absolutely. Right. So have you found the link? Have you popped it in the chat?
No, can you just talk for a little bit longer? I just got distracted wishing Sam well. EFL era book. Hang on, I can't search my own website properly.
It's on the. It's
on.
There
we go. Brand new book released for Christmas. Yeah, but I'm doing that much at the minute. Basically, as people know or may not know, I was actually cruelly let go from my full time paid role by email on the first day of my holiday, the day before my birthday, with no prior warning whatsoever. I was actually told a couple of weeks ago that whatever happened, I would be staying on after January, and then that happened. But the plan was always to build up the Stacey West, and I'm looking at doing not just Lincoln news on there, but League One and local news as well. So the amount of content on there seems to be increasing all the time. So to try and find a book I did on the 12th when it's now the 23rd, I'd have to go about 18 pages deep. So that link is now in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. I will be placing that order tomorrow at midday. So if you do want it, have a look at that link. Please do get it ordered, because otherwise you will have to buy it off Amazon, which means it will come quicker and I won't have written in it.
There we go. Right. Well, that is a good spot to wrap up the podcast, Gaz. It's really good to have you back, mate. And hopefully, it will continue as it always has done.
Yeah, thank you to everybody. Obviously, I have had a leave of absence for reasons that I'm sure people are well aware of. But the plan is to try and come back and get back a little bit to my usual self. So we'll see how that goes. But it's been good to do a podcast with you, Ben. It feels like the boys are back. It's been a long while.
Absolutely. Pod Squad forever. Right.
Pod Squad.
I don't know if I like that or not. I kind of do.
I don't like it, so we're not going to.
You know what I do like, though?
Me.
Saying up the imps.
Up the imps.